All right, Chris. Well, this is episode 16 of the Steadfast Podcast, and we are starting Matthew chapter 14.
Mm-hmm.
Will you read it for us?
Yep. Yeah, so it'll be 14 verses 1 through 12. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard the report about Jesus. This is John the Baptist, he told his servants. He has been raised from the dead, and that's why miraculous powers are at work in him. For Herod had arrested John, chained him, and put him in prison on account of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, since John had been telling him, "It's not lawful for you to have her." Though Herod wanted to kill John, he feared the crowds since they regarded John as a prophet. When Herod's birthday celebration came, Herodias' daughter danced before them and pleased Herod. So he promised with an oath to give her whatever she asked. Prompted by her mother, she answered, "Give me John the Baptist's head here on a platter." Although the king regretted it, he commanded that it be granted because of his oaths and his guests. So he sent orders that John had John beheaded in the prison. His head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, who carried it to her mother. Then his disciples came, removed the corpse, buried it, and went and reported it to Jesus.
Man, they're arguably the first martyr,
Yeah,
or the last prophet. Depends.
right.
It's kind of that bridge,
Which
there.
is he's kind of the perfect bridge.
Mhm.
That's kind of, I guess that's, I didn't even think about that. That's fitting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of heavy. There's lots of seems to be very Roman whatever's happening there.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, it's heavy
Yeah.
to consider.
Yeah. And on Sunday, we kind of focused on like Herod, and like the message was titled like conscience and conviction, and like, so this is post parables, and he's hearing about Jesus and hearing about the miracles, and he's like, I've seen this before. I remember this, and he's immediately convinced. We actually see in some of the other gospel tellings of the story that others said it's John raised from the dead, and he believes that it's John raised from the dead. And I can't help but think that's his conscience, because then it goes on to share. What's interesting about this story is it's not like it's happening in real time. It's talking about what had happened, and but the relationship where now Herod's hearing about Jesus, and he's like, this is John the Baptist, which John the Baptist paved the way. He was, and clearly represented Jesus well, to where he was even being confused with Jesus. So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it shows that he was deeply convicted.
Mm-hmm.
Even after his decision, it's apparently haunting him.
Yeah. Yep. And I think the idea of killing John was to remove that feeling.
Yep.
Although it wasn't his idea, he wanted to kill him, but he couldn't. And then at other times you see he's like kind of baffled by John. Like he's like, he's interested to hear from him, but like there's like this like soul heart kind of struggle thing that's documented. And but now that he's gone, he's found no more relief. It's actually kind of probably intensified, which is what we see here, where he's like, oh no, he's like raised from the dead. Like I still can't kill him, even though he's dead. He's alive again. So
yeah, I mean, you think about those things where like something that superstition still lives in a lot of people. That idea, like, oh man, this bad thing's happened to me because of and it's like haunted by the past decisions.
It's like the karma, like kind of, which is we don't ascribe to at all, but it's like that. Oh no, it's going to come back from it. It's a guilty conscience, where you feel like everything's going to come for you eventually. You're going to get, found out or exposed, or I kind of talked about on Sunday, like the best thing you could ever say to someone is, that's all right. I'm going to get you back. You don't know when, you don't know how, but it's coming. Believe me, it's coming. and the longer that you take to actually pay them back, the better.
Yeah.
Like actually, it's probably better to never pay them back because you're now living in their head
Mm-hmm.
rent free, as you say, because it's they're always thinking about like, oh no, this could be the moment. They could be around every corner,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to live your whole life in fear based on something that you did, and you knew it was coming back for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think probably that's where Herod was at, where he was
I
kind of
bet.
freaking out. Yeah,
I think I had a youth student a while back, and he kind of got radically saved during COVID. And coming into the faith, that was one of his big things. Is like he had to kind of be content with the fact that like at some point people would potentially come after him because he was in a crew sort of gang affiliation, and there was stuff going on where he cut ties, and part of that event was him coming to the Lord, and because he was just so scared to death that he turned to Christ because he was like, I don't think there's like, he was desperate. And so he was walking with Jesus, but also part of that initial stage was realizing that that's probably it's going to catch up to him at some point. But the same him, I remember just speaking with him and him learning to be like, all right, those things might catch up to me. It's a little different, but it's interesting because here we have this, Herod the Tetrarch is terrified of his past decisions. And I don't think that's something that the gospel writers are putting lightly. I think the idea of, because for every person that denies Jesus is potential to have the same experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And he's in a unique position. So we kind of talked about this on Sunday, but like the Herod name, like, so there's Herod the Great was the guy in charge when Jesus was born, and he was the one that killed like all the babies. Oh, here comes the King of the Jews. He wanted to be known as the King of the Jews. He wanted to be the one that was like friendly enough with the Jews and kind of like, I'm with you or whatever, which is really why John was like, hey, if you guys are saying, so this was his son, one of his sons. He had three, at least, that were in leadership. So it was Herod Archelaus, who had like half of the kingdom, and it was two other quarters, where they were overseers. They're not kings, but they're overseers kind of the area. So it was Philip, his half brother, who is Herodias's husband. And then Herod Antipas, which is who we're talking about here, who also will oversee the death of Jesus, which is, part of it, him and Pilate together. And, his cowardice here, where he's interested in John and he recognizes something supernatural about John. We know that to be true because when he sees supernatural things happening in Jesus, it reminds him of John. But he's a coward. He's scared of the people, but he should be scared of God. Like, you should fear God, not people. But we see here, even he's like, he regretted his decision to give this power with his oath away to Salome, which is Herodias' daughter, and it was all a trap. He was trapped, and but he didn't have the guts to like go against that oath. But he, even though knowing the right thing to do, he was too cowardly to do it before, I think. So there's a bit of, I don't know, there's a really good lesson in there for the, because it's easy to look at Herod and go, what's Herod? He's evil. And to some degree, yeah, I mean, evil people do evil things. This is an evil thing. But there was some nuance there where he didn't just hate John. And I don't think he even straight hated Jesus. He's just like more ambivalent, but also weak and cowardly. And so, and by thinking you're choosing what's easy now, hard later, versus hard now, easy later, he kept making the wrong decision.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure his mom was a Jewish princess and his dad was like a half.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that was their relationship with the, and so they were put in this place where they could have like Roman authority with amongst the, but the Jewish with the Jewish authority also, kind of a thing.
Yeah, because the Jews would have probably outright rebelled.
Yeah,
all the way.
Yeah,
but the idea that he was partially Jewish, kind of lessened the blow.
But it's also why John's calling him out on what's
Mhm.
not lawful, because this isn't like Roman law.
Mhm.
This would be lawful as unto the law.
Yeah.
So like the Torah. So
Yeah, because their marriages were mostly political.
mhm.
And you actually, when you study Roman history, there seemed to be a ton of that.
Right,
Like that's what marriage was for political advantage.
right.
And so, yeah,
Allegiances being made all over the place. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, it's interesting that John is standing up for, biblical marriage,
Right.
and it cost him his life.
Yeah. I mean, we saw earlier in Matthew where Jesus finds out John's in prison, and
Mhm.
and his disciples come and they're like, what is going on? So it was a cost. It reminds me of like Paul knowing going to Jerusalem, what it meant. It was going to cost him something, but he still had to do what he had to do, and he called it like it was. And so, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think you were kind of talking about that. When we don't decide, it's still a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Like when like just teetering or asking the questions and then just thinking that we don't have to decide on this whole Jesus thing, or following Christ. That in and of itself actually is an answer.
Mm-hmm.
The middle ground isn't actually a middle ground.
Right.
There's a place for seeking and trying to figure things out, but then there's a complacency. There's like we know what we're supposed to do. And it's apparent in this story that the way it's told is that we see John the Baptist is like, he's just kind of sat there and he almost becomes this gesture, entertainment. And it's I think people do the same thing today in their faith, where they have certain people in their life, or they will occasionally attend a church or a men's study or something like that, and it's almost like they're just toying with the idea, but they know what they're supposed to do. They know what kind of life they're supposed to live, and just like Herod, I have friends that will just come to me when they kind of need some
Mm-hmm.
spiritual feel good or advice, and I'm not trying to be that person, but they'll come and it's almost like they're in the same. Well, they got John in prison, and it's like they know what they need to do. He needs to set John free. He needs to make it right with his brother and his wife, those sort of things. But instead, it's like, because of the complacency, he does actually make a decision, and that scars him, it appears, for life.
Mm-hmm.
But not to stretch too much the analogy or the story, but I see people in a similar situation often.
Yeah. And they're looking for like kind of like spiritual, like soothing,
Mm-hmm.
like make me feel better about my situation I'm in.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I don't like, no, you're not supposed to feel better about the situation you're in. You're supposed to leave the situation you're in.
Yeah.
And then you'll feel better, like not right away, but like the point of this is there's healing somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like it can, while you're still breathing, you have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually paralleled this story with David
Mm-hmm.
and Bathsheba.
Yeah.
Because it's similar where, I mean, what's wild is David's story is worse than this, where he takes another man's wife, an honorable man, and just for sake of, I guess, recapping this whole story, he takes another man's wife as his own, but starts off by like lusting after her and then taking her, and that may not have been as clean as you think it might have been. It was probably, I don't know how much of a choice she had. And she gets pregnant. He brings this guy back from battle, Uriah, and he's like, okay, well, they'll have a baby, it'll be fine, or they'll be together, and then he'll think it's his. He doesn't do it. He's honorable, which is like the knife and twist. Sleeps outside of the house, and so he decides to have him killed in battle, and he thinks it's slick and it's all going to work out. He can marry Bathsheba. It's fine, whatever. And then Nathan comes to him and is like, hey, man, what if there's this guy that had all this riches, all this and that. And then he saw this other guy who had just one little lamb, and it was like, he loved it to death. And then he went and took it from him. And David's like, dude, let me find this guy and I'll kill him. I'll take care of him right now. We're going to take care of it. And then Nathan says, well, you're the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Bathsheba. And that's Uriah. And what you thought was done when no one else could see it, and what you thought you perfectly covered up, it was always exposed.
Mm-hmm.
Like it never went anywhere. It was right there. And so God, in his mercy, brings forth conviction to David to ultimately heal his conscience too, because he's living with his conscience deal, where his response to it is, I've sinned against the Lord. Like, I recognize where I blew it. And then he was completely submitted to whatever God had to do. And it was a steep price. It's the price of a baby's life. And that's the man after God's own heart. When he recognizes what he's done and he recognizes who God is, he's like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And so there's a big parallel there to where what the rest of David's years look like versus Herod's. And, and cowardice leads to more cowardice. And we see again with Jesus, Herod and Pilate are sending Jesus back and forth to each other because no one knows what to do with him. They're having a hard time. Like they don't want to take him out, but they also don't have enough guts to solve it, the problem. And even Pilate, his wife, is having dreams about him. It's like, don't do anything to this righteous man. I had a horrible dream about this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the alternatives. Those are the two choices. You can be caught up in a really bad place, in sin, in a bad thing. You think you covered it all up, but it's still not right. That as much as you fooled everybody, you haven't fooled God, and you really haven't even fooled yourself. You're like in that place. What Jesus has come to remove the shame, guilt, pain, all of that stuff by confessing and coming to him honestly and openly with where you're really at. And that's the 1 John, if we confess our sins, he's faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. So as the light is shine on you, your response is to go, yeah, that is bad. Can you take that from me? But for Herod, that's not the case. And now he's compounding his worries and his troubles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's probably lots of people out there that feel that way.
I think we've all felt that way at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's I think a lot of people will begin to cope in in ways that they're just cause a bigger and bigger spiral until they, because those are the two options. We either face it or we continue to try to avoid it. And you can see people running away from that a lot of times. And you can see their life kind of descend into darkness. And it's a sad thing to see, but also when somebody fully surrenders, it's like there's the hope and forgiveness that Jesus offers is always there. He's just waiting for us to come to him. And I think for anybody that's listening, that's like, man, that's what I'm doing right now. I think the encouragement is to surrender to God's whatever it is that he's working in your heart, and to face it, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Because there's mercy for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you think about, even at this point, if Herod goes, oh, he's here, there's another, I need to go talk to him, and lay it all out. In some ways, it's like Paul, right? Formerly Saul of Tarsus, overseeing the deaths of believers all over the place. And clearly there was a goad being used by God through the Holy Spirit to prompt Paul to, hey, don't go down this road. Don't go down this road. Like, you're kicking against me actively. And I think as much as he would never have said it at the time that he felt that way, afterwards he'd probably be able to say, yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, I know exactly what it meant to kick against the goats. And Paul's response is beautiful. Who are you, Lord?
Yeah.
That's literally said, like, who are you, Lord? Who are you who has become the now master of my life?
Mm-hmm.
And It's like, it's Jesus. And he's like, yeah, I kind of thought it was.
Yep.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was you. And I'm done running. And to be done running is a beautiful place to begin. And, the world doesn't really have a good answer for this. It's like, oh, time heals all pain. No, it doesn't. It might numb you out, but numbing you out has other consequences. To remove your conscience is a horrible disservice to yourself. I mean, you don't want to get rid of your conscience. You don't want to dull it or sear it or scar it or, any of that stuff. And so if God's convicting you, it's a sign that he loves you and you still have ears to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And we are all there more often than we would want to admit, but go to the loving arms of Jesus and recognize he already died for all of it. And that he can take your mess and make something really beautiful out of all of it. So the Bible's full of those stories.
Yeah. Or even I think about the passage that talks about he chastens the ones that he loves.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you feel the tension and that you feel as if God is pulling you back to him shows that you're his child.
Yep.
And that he cares for you and he loves you. Without that, it's almost concerning.
Yeah.
Not that, God still loves the world, but the fact that we feel conviction and we feel that tug, it's supposed to encourage us and remind us. And as we turn to him, like his love hasn't dried up,
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting because I think we all have a tendency to kick against the goads, as you were talking about, as God is trying to lead us gently. We don't respond well to the gentle.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead we sometimes he has to like pull out the blinders, and like he literally has to stop Paul in his tracks and then redirect
Well,
him.
he's like breathing like murderous threats.
Yeah.
Like he's like aggro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he gets it, I think most of us aren't listening well enough to get the whispers.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes God has to use the megaphone, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can liken it to even like kids, if you never tell your kids, like if you never correct them, it's like ultimately, like I try to say to my kids all the time, the reason I bring this up is not because of right now. I mean, it'd be more convenient to not bring it up. Like I'd rather not have to deal with this right now and just like let it go. But I know the parents who let it go, like, and just never told their kids they did anything wrong. They become horrific adults, like, or especially like teenagers and stuff. And, they're like telling their parents to shut up in front of people and stuff. I'm like, dude, like, I can't do that to you. Like, I love you guys. Like, I want to like set you up for success. And, my parents were really good at like that, like teaching respect and like boundaries and stuff like that. And not thinking things are yours if they're not, those kind of things are like just not going over and trashing people's houses or eating all their food, all those kind of things that you're like, you have other friends that do it and you're like, oh man, it looks fun, but there's like something in you doesn't want to do it. And then you realize like, yeah, that wasn't fun for them. Like they notice what the difference is. And in time, what's being instilled in you is actually something really a lot more important than what you could imagine. That's earthly parents, disciplining you to give you kind of an understanding of where you fit in the world, like a humility and stuff like that. He has a way of chastening, again, those who he loves, to bring us to, one, trust not in ourselves nearly as much, but to like fall down on our face in need of grace and mercy. That's really important. But also to know like how to like be lights in the world that we live in. He's making a difference, and it's going to be, if you got to deal with something at a heart issue at a foundational level, you've got to find out where all the faults and all the cracks and everything are there, and then rebuild from the very beginning. Christ is the cornerstone. And then, that's now your identity, your hope, your everything builds off of that, not off of sneakiness or trickery or any of that stuff that's only going to hurt you more in the long run. So, yeah,
that's good. Yeah. So, Yeah, we've definitely talked to the person that's maybe feels convicted and they've done the bad thing. Um, I guess maybe my question is, there's a lot of people in the church that they can see their friend or their family member that is the wayward, the person who is got their, they're resisting the conviction of the Holy Spirit. What would you speak to the person that is on the other side of this, watching it happen? Maybe they have a son or a daughter that's kind of like resistant to the Lord, or, like, I don't know. Do you have any advice to that person?
Like if you see someone kind of hardening their heart.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of people that experience like their kids kind of go
Mhm.
prodigal,
Mhm.
and not just prodigal, but like hate
Yeah.
things of the church, or
Yeah. I mean, I think this is the hardest part, is figuring out what kind of a relationship to have.
yeah,
Um, because I think I've heard it go kind of both, like different ways, where people say cast them out so that they can feel all the pain and sorrow and whatever. And there's biblical examples of that, like within the church, to go like, you can't like let a predator be a predator, or you can't let like these people who are like in unrepentant sin continue to feel like it's all good.
yeah,
um that's not good for them. You want them to like feel this moment, in a sense. And then there's the other, where it's like you realize, I want to keep relationship, I want to figure out how to have relationship. And I think you try and keep relationship as much as you possibly can. I think a lot of times walls get built up because people's feelings get really hurt, and there's legitimate pain that happens in this, and none of it's simple. But I think um, being able to like speak to not just what you think, but like why, and like your motivation for having this conversation, your motivation for the tension, like where is that coming from? Because I think we always assume people know what that is, but a lot of times it's they don't. You know what I'm saying? So being able to remember, there was a list of sayings. This guy at the packing house where I was at he had like these one-liners that were like really helpful, I felt like, in dealing with people. And I had it on a piece of paper. He wrote them out for me when I moved out here years ago. And I would pull them out and look at them every once in a while. And one of them was like, rules without relationship breeds rebellion. So if you don't have a relationship, the rules will breed rebellion. But if you have a relationship, you're able to explain like where you're coming from. And I try and do that like with my kids, like where I feel like it's getting too much of like, you guys, you just got to stop doing this. You got to stop. Like, you got to think like this. You got to like blah, blah, blah. And you go like, I need to not forget why I want to share this. Can I tell you why I don't want this to keep going for you? I'm going to give you a personal example of my own life where I did not do this, or where I like, this is why I'm so adamant about this, because I've felt the pain of being on the other side of it. And I don't want you to experience that. Now there's something to where I have to make my own decisions, blah, blah, blah. But I found, I mean, obviously my kids are younger, but I found that, and know of people respond to that pretty well, whether if they immediately respond well or not. There is something, let's say there's a step of the bridge returning, where you have an opportunity. Another one he would say was, so his rules are out without relationship breeds rebellion. And people will care about what you know when they know how much you care. If you're able to like articulate your love and your care for them, and that's really what Jesus is doing. This is what God's doing throughout all the Bible, is like, is it not clear how much I love you and how much I'm not giving up on this people project, this human race? Like, is it not clear that I sent my son to die? I love you so much. That is with that motivation, I'm saying, come and live with me. Trust me as your king. I am a good king. I've got your back. As a parent, you want your kids to know, I've got your back. I'm with you on this. Like, the reason, if you see me lash out, sometimes I mess up. Sometimes I'm frustrated because I'm really nervous for where you're at. And I know this doesn't lead well because I have a million examples. I also know what it feels like to be in your place where you're deceived. but just know how much I care about you. And that is what motivates these kind of conversations. And I feel like that can go a long way. Obviously you're dealing with spiritual components too. So prayer is the way to impact the heart. Like, God, you can do through the working of the Holy Spirit, you can soften the hearts from the inside out. But having clear communication, I feel like, as simple as that sounds, that's usually what goes away, because people are hurt. They kind of wall up and they build their little thing to feel good about themselves and whatever. And you find out, you guys can't even talk to each other. You're missing kind of the whole point. So,
yeah, I think with my kids, I often will tell them, you know why I don't want you to whine? Like, it's because if you whine, you can't be grateful. And if you can't be grateful, then you're not going to have a peaceful life. Those sort of, and I think the why is important, because so far they've never objected to me saying that. They normally ask some questions like I am grateful, or, those sort of things, but they never question like why I'm doing it, because, even explaining that, I think, and that's the thing, is like helping people, I think, understand, if you're on the other side and you're, maybe a parent in a situation, or maybe a friend, I do think it's important that we may never be able to have that conversation with them, but by the way we live our life, the attitude we have towards them, how we speak of them, it can show that we have a love for them. Like if you're on the other side and you're waiting for somebody who's kind of in rebellion to come back to the Lord, I think it is important that we posture ourselves like the same way that the prodigal father is like happy to see them. Because, I do think having the right posture towards a person is important in these situations, because we start to reinforce, how we feel, or how we expect the person to feel. But then that's the crazy, it's one of the crazy things about the story of the prodigal son, is that everybody expects the father to not give him the time of day, but it's shock and awe. Here he is so excited to see them. I think for people on the other side, watching that, is important to have that posture, or even in our prayers to care for them, and to, not, hopefully that's not too off of what we're talking about, but.
No, I think it's helpful. I also think there's probably I guess, sometimes people really hurt you in the process and they don't realize it, like you can be really hurt by a situation. And I think there can be even healing in saying that. Like, I know I didn't do everything right, but like this hurt me beyond belief. Like, so like, if you saw us to some degree, like, you're like, why did you react that way? It's like, I was in serious pain, and I really like, and I forgive you, but just know like that part of what you see is like, why is it escalated? Sometimes you're legitimately like hurt by a situation in your life, and so, I don't know. I think sometimes that's worth saying too, because it can sometimes open up them saying it back, which now you're actually dealing with real stuff where it's like, I already forgive you for all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, I know. Great. Okay, cool. That's the Christian answer. But then you like hear him talking. You're like, no, you haven't. Like, or kinda, but you're still really hurt. But like something about like verbalizing the words, like, be like, hey, look, I know you're in a different place and all that, but just like, could you imagine like how much that hurts? Tell me what I did to you, how that felt. I mean, I can imagine some degrees of like, you felt abandoned, or you felt this or that or whatever, but anything to spark like the heart. Cause I think there's these walls that are just so formidable. And their protection, cause you're trying to like protect yourself from getting hurt. Well, what are you scared of being hurt from? Those are the pain points. And so as soon as you can share a pain point, even of your own, even if it's regarding them, that's humanizing. It humanizes the situation. You just like let down and had a little bit of vulnerability, and, it doesn't always work that way. But I do think there's some degree of that being a helpful practice in certain situations.
Yeah. Because vulnerability requires humility.
Yeah. Who wants to say that, Yeah. Like, I don't want people to think anyone ever hurts me. Sorry. I'm fine, whatever. Don't worry about it. You know, but it's like, yeah, people hurt you a lot,
Mhm.
you know, like, and they'll say stuff. It's like flippant and doesn't matter. It's like, dang, yeah, I'm going to be thinking about that for like a couple days, you know.
Yeah.
It's like when it's regarding a family member or a close friend, I
Mhm.
mean, it hurts a lot more. You lose a friend, you lose a family, you know, have a family member go off the rails. You don't spend days thinking about it. You spend years. You spend
Mhm.
most days thinking about it at some point, you
Mhm.
know? And so, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing God cares about us, and that he's trying to pull us in. And he wants to heal us. You know,
Yeah.
I think there's those circumstances that are tough though,
Yeah.
and but it's good to know that. I think like bringing it to community too. That idea is because if we suffer alone, we'll probably suffer a lot longer.
Right.
But when you have people in your life, then yeah, I know we're probably far off from.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately, you know, it's totally in line with it because it's like the conviction and the conscience and all that
Mhm.
stuff. It's like God's giving, in a sense, Herod another shot
Yeah.
to let his sin be exposed, and then
Yep.
what's he going to do with it? You know, that's the same thing for all of us. We have to like reconcile with. We got major wounds and major issues and major pain points in our life, and Jesus came to heal those from the inside out.
Mhm.
Not that it's all going to be perfect, but like that it can be dealt with legally,
Mhm.
like from a you know from a judge standpoint where
Mhm.
you are now reckoned new in Christ.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, these steps are like this is what it means to be transformed.
Mm-hmm.
To be with Christ and to identify with him means to suffer with him. And this is
Mm-hmm.
what it looks like sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Reconciliation is not, those sort of things. They're not easy tasks,
Right.
or they would be popular.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
solid stuff.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add?
I don't think so. I think we kind of covered it. But yeah, interesting subject because it's like post all the parables
Mm-hmm.
and it's like then we're gonna see like the feeding, with the fish and so it's an interesting story in the middle of it. But a lot of times when I start studying for a Sunday morning message because we're just going through Matthew, I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, like you spend more time with the text and you're like, okay, I think I know that this totally makes sense. It fits. And so hopefully it was encouraging to go through it and recognize how gracious and kind God is in sending his son who despised the shame, like endured the cross for us. So what a gift. Come to him. He's the way.
Yeah.
He's the only way. And so he's waiting for us to lay down our burdens at his feet.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Cool.
Till next time.
Till next time.
Mm-hmm.